What is up, shitheads? JJ back here, Run Pure Bets. Another live video on a Saturday talking MLB. As always, I'll run down the slate, give you some numbers I have favorable, unfavorable, blah, 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 blah. And of course, best bets. Now, on this show in particular, I'm only going to have one best bet, but don't worry, you will have plenty of time to get that one in. Has more to do with, I've obviously run down the slate, and it's only one line I have really favorable. I mean, I'll give you guys leans, for those, degens, if you will, that want extra action that might not be as favorable. But we're here. We're here. So nice to pick up the win yesterday. Angels, money line, $135. Unnecessary sweat. If you watched some of the game, I gotta say, I try to watch a decent amount of the games I bet, but you can't stress on everything, right? You can't stress every bet you make, but a little more pressure for that one for sure. What I will say is, and thank everybody for commenting earlier, and I'll get to all you, but what I will say is, so Madden opted to bring in Myers in the sixth, and for those casual watchers might not think that that's a big deal, but Myers is arguably, at least in my opinion, the Angels' best relief pitcher, and they usually save him for the eighth, but a high leverage situation. Madden brings him in early, first and second, no outs in a tie game. And it proved fruitful, right? I mean, the dude gets a double play and then gets out of that inning unscathed or limiting the damage, and then pitches a scoreless seventh. It just goes to show, some managers get it, there are those situations, certain people, not every team's best pitcher is their closer, but the best role for them is to close. Typically your closers in MLB, and I hate to go on a tangent here, but I hope you find this somewhat informative. A lot of managers, not so much that their best pitchers, their closer, or their best relief pitchers, their closer, but it's typically your closer is typically a guy that has a high K rate, a guy that throws hard, and a guy that can basically get himself out of trouble if he gets himself in it. It's the whole point of a closer. Closer is not always your best relief pitcher. I think people have that misconception. Most often it is, but not always. So like I said, I consider Myers to be their best arm, and he normally never enters the game before the seventh inning. So for Madden to bring him in the sixth to grab two outs, and normally he brings in, I'm trying to think of the guys, Watson, I think. Normally he brings in Watson prior. But like I said, when I watch a game like that, you kind of know how a team's pen works, and the order the guys come in often when they're winning a game or leading a game. And I just felt that was a really good managing decision by Madden. And you don't see it a lot from managers, right? They have their way of managing. They like to use a certain order for their pen. Overall, I felt that was good, and it ended up being, of course, it worked out. Now, of course, Iglesias gives up the homer, 2 outs, 2 strikes. But again, what is Iglesias, right? Iglesias is a hard thrower, gets a lot of Ks, but he is by no means their best relief pitcher. So it was nice. It was nice to see that, and then of course, nice to rally to get that win in the late innings. And of course, I'm sure you've probably seen or heard that the egregious balk calls on Ohtani, but look, I mean, is what it is. They still got the win. Okay, which I think moves us to 16-6 plus a little over 10.5 units, which is obviously a great start. But we move on. What's up, Vegas Bruce? I see Nathan, Adam, Ron, Richie. Adam UES and Gavin. When's the college baseball show today? LOL. 2 dislikes before the vid starts. You hate to see it. But look, all good. All good. You take your lumps. Okay, so I've gone on and on and on enough without actually giving you any quality content. So let's dive right in. Okay, so I obviously don't need to talk on the 2:00 game. Been there, done that. It's the past. Yankees Phils. So interesting today. We're still dealing with a bunch of interleague play, 4 or 5 games, right? And the Phils, Vince Velasquez, Jameson Taillon. So for me, I'm a Vince Velasquez guy when he's pitching at home. And I don't know if that's necessarily baked into this number enough. Now I look at the lineup for the Phils, and this is a near opening day lineup, and this team has plenty of heavy hitters, heavy bats. The Yankees have a good looking lineup today as well. Now the big problem, of course, with Velasquez is his walk issues. Yankees are a bit home run or bust. And look, if they get guys on, you can't be giving free passes. I mean, what's his name? Dobnik, or am I thinking of the guy in the Twins that walked a few guys and gave up 3 home runs on 0-2 counts. Randy Dobnik, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Either way, what a disaster. But you see things like that, how the Yankees are one of those teams, of course, in Major League with power all over the lineup. And if you walk a guy or two, it's a problem because it puts more pressure on you to not give up home runs. Now, Philly, it's warm, but it's not super warm where I would think like the ball's going to have some crazy carry. Let me just look real quick at that park in terms of how the weather looks for it. Yeah, I mean, slight wind blowing in and 75 degrees. I mean, this isn't exactly like ball carry out weather. It's warm, but it's not like crazy warm. So here's my thing. I look at this total of 9. It's come down a little since. A very slight lean for me in this over at the number of 9. I definitely wouldn't have played at 9.5, but I see it's come down to 9. And again, for me, I know you look at a National League. The Yankees are in the National League, and a guy like Tyon has to bat. But don't forget, he played for Pittsburgh. He's not like he's a complete stranger to batting in the National League. But yeah, the free outs, of course, are nice. But look, you look up and down these lineups. This is a strong lineup from both teams. And first of all, Tyon is very susceptible. And again, Vince Velasquez, who's better at home, just has too many walk issues. You'd assume he's going to have to wiggle himself out of jams. And yes, this Yankee team is one that you can find strikeouts within this lineup. And it doesn't look like Stanton's playing today. So take of that what you will. But again, still a lot of pop up and down these lineups. It's a very, very slight lean. Definitely not one I would pound my chest in or bet. 8.5 would be a bet for me, but 9, just a slight lean. So yeah, that would be my best look for that game. Okay, so Diamondbacks, Angels. Now again, we won at the Angels yesterday at $1.35, and you'll rarely see me lay that type of vig. And 135 is basically the top shelf for me. But yeah, I just had that wildly off, and the Angels were up 3-1 in the 5th. Just kind of things started to spiral a bit, or 3-2 with the double balks called on Ohtani. But overall, I did have that quite favorable, even at 135, and that's what pricing's about, right? If you like a game at 135, you must like it because you think it's 160 or 165, or you have numbers telling you it's 160, 165. Same thing with underdogs, right? If you think a dog is good value at plus 120, it's not because you think they should be plus 120. It's because you really think that they probably should be plus 100 or maybe even favored. Anyway, value is value. That's why I always say dogs are great, for value, but at the end of the day, you need to find value within the lines, and whether that's favorite dog, it doesn't matter. You still need to find value. Now, this game in particular would be a very strong lean for me in favor of the Angels at 115. This will probably be my strongest lean of this entire video. If this was 105, 100% auto fire, 115. Here's the thing: I have this capped for Angels $1.25, which gives me a 10-cent edge, and I can't fire at 115, and even if they go down early, it wouldn't matter. I can't fire. And also, remember, guys, when you handicap a game, you can't just look at like how teams are hitting or whatever. The Angels used their literal top pen yesterday. Okay, they used Myers for 2 innings, so don't expect to see him today. Iglesias had a low pitch count, so you could see him again. But again, I don't personally think he's great. And you could see Watson, even though he threw an inning yesterday. But and even I think who did they throw out? Was it Claudio afterwards, or Cishek, the guy that used to be on the Marlins, I think. So yeah, their arms are limited tonight if they have a lead late. And I liked what I saw from the Diamondbacks bats. Remember, this was a team that was not hitting at all coming in. And I always tell you guys, I'm a bit deterred when a team that's losing a lot of games comes back home to matchups that are winnable. This is a winnable matchup. Now, Cobb's coming off a bad start. I would expect him to pitch better in this one. And Caleb Smith has been good, but advanced stuff tells you regression's coming. Now, the lineup, it took a little while for them to get this lineup out, and I'm looking at it now, and this is a woof kind of lineup from the Angels. I'm not sure who's sitting or who's not, but, Ohtani's sitting for one thing. So Juan Lagares is a big drop-off there. You got Alex Cobb batting, which is a disaster. Fletcher, I felt like had so many opportunities yesterday and did nothing. So yeah, it's a bit scary of a lineup because even Jared Walsh, who's one of their better bats, is a lefty. So just a lot of scariness to me with how poor this lineup looks. So that's why, again, I only cap it at 125. Now, why do I have the Angels capped at 125? Well, first of all, Diamondbacks have lost 8 straight. Diamondbacks used a lot of their good arms yesterday, just like the Angels did. So with all this considered, again, call it a strong lean in favor of the Angels. I don't absolutely love it, though. I actually also like the over in this one as a strong lean. So maybe you just correlate the two and take over 4.5 Angels team total. But again, a little deterred for me with this lineup. Again, I would have wished Ohtani was in, but I get it. I think they normally give Ohtani the day off after he pitches completely, so it's not uncommon. But yes, overall, called a strong lean Angels, but that has more to do with the fact that the Diamondbacks are reeling, Angels are playing well. Just got a lot of the bullpen. These two who are going today better eat innings because the bullpen took a hit yesterday from both sides. The extra inning game was a close game late, so both teams used their best pen arms late. So yeah, keep that in mind when you're handicapping games. Always have an idea on what you can expect to see from pens, especially if you got two pitchers that aren't really innings eaters, right? It's a little different if you have a guy like Garrett Cole pitching or DeGrom, of course, where you're going to get 7-8 innings or 6-7 innings at least. These two, it's a little more volatile. So like I said, overall, call it stronger lean. Angels team total 4.5 over. But yeah, not in love by any means. Definitely not a bet I'm going to be making. And however, it could be a live spot if if both these two teams go a little cold first few innings. Definitely could be a live over spot for me if I can get like 6.5, 7 third inning. Okay, Dodgers Tech. Oh no, I don't want to go Dodgers Texas. Am I holding going all over the place with the numbers here? Okay, so Athletics Royals Caprialan. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Versus Kowar. So the Royals have been quite Jekyll and Hyde this year. Athletics have been much more stable in terms of their ability to not lose a bunch of games in a row or go completely ice cold with their sticks. Nice win yesterday for Oakland. Did they do it in extra innings? I know it was a 3-3 game late. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but Oakland $1.57 here. Now, here's my issue with Oakland in this spot. I'm just trying to see what the consensus line is. I see it looks like 157. I just want to confirm. Okay, so it's 160. Now, here's my issue with Oakland. So Kowar is not nearly as bad as he looked against the Angels in his last start. I know that this is not a good spot start for him either against these Oakland bats. But let me just quickly peek their lineup from Oakland. Just make sure nothing's crazy. Okay, so they're sitting, what's his name? Canna at the top. Tony Kemp. Yeah, I mean, this Oakland lineup's not exactly excellent. And the Royals lineup looks okay. They are sitting a few. Are they? Tough to tell. It does look like, because if Dyson started, they got to be sitting one of their outfielders. But okay, so the Royals have a better lineup compared to opening day versus the A's do today. So the A's are sitting a few bats, which is fine. Not the end of the world. This total is 9, and I know that these teams are somewhat hitting coming in. However, I do think a number of 9 for this park is almost as high as you'll see for Oakland. Maybe 9.5, but you'll never see 10 at this park. It's more of a pitcher's park in the American League. Slightly under for me at 9. Again, I know that you look at two pitchers who aren't great. Caprialan hasn't been good. He's 308, but his surface stuff's not that great. And Kowar, sure, it's a small sample size, but he's not as as bad as this. And both these teams don't have great pens by any means, but they're not like awful. A's is a little better, but again, not great by any means. Overall, I would lean this under 9. This has more to do with I'm looking at lineups. There's a few guys sitting, and the A's have what I'd consider a complete black hole at the bottom here. Pinder can't hit anything. Andrews has a woeful season. And Sky Bolt, fill-in guy for the time being. So if Kowar can get himself around the top of the order, also missing Canna would help. And again, the Royals have been so Jekyll and Hyde with their bats, and they've found some life late. I think they had a 3-run homer late in the game yesterday. But overall, I do lean the under at 9 in that one. And I know somebody's saying that it's moved to 8.5. What I'm seeing, I'm looking like I'm seeing 9 in most markets. I'm seeing 9. I don't know if 8.5 might have popped for you at some point, but right now it's consensus 9 most spots. So just keep that in mind. What's up, Landa? Ron, Kegs in the house. Richie. It was funny you say. I was going to post it on Twitter. The DeGrom 5 ribbies and 4 earned runs. Because it's crazy. Like the dude has what 16 or 20 something total at bats. And he's hitting like whatever it is, 400, 350, something like that. And opposing batters are hitting against him like 120, 130, something like that. So just insane, just absolutely insane. So kudos to DeGrom, just incredible pitcher to start. Everybody knows he's a great pitcher, but he's just been egregiously good so far. Okay, so moving on to the next game, Marlins Braves. So Zach Thompson, Max Fried. Now I will be honest with you guys, I don't know much about Zach Thompson. And I'm not going to try to act like I do or act like I can dig up information that's relative for me on him. This is going to be a complete stay away spot for me. I think 8 is a decent sized number for this park. So if you're thinking like, oh, Fried's not good and Thompson's not great, and I'm just going to bet the over. Do realize I always tell you guys about this numbers and park dimensions. 8's a decent number for this park. Again, you're rarely going to see a number at 8.5 or 9 in this park and down in Miami. But stay away spot for me. I just want no part of this game, so we'll move on. Rays and Orioles. Rich Hill, Jorge Lopez. So Rays are 220 in this spot. I will be honest. Rich Hill, I don't care how good he's looked this year. He does not deserve to be 220 against anyone he faces. Now, again, if you create yourself, and you can handicap this sport however you'd like, as long as it's successful, right? But you need to create yourself, and I'll talk a little bit about modeling here for a second. You need to create yourself a ceiling for a player and a basement for a player. Okay, this line is very basically touching the ceiling for Rich Hill. Okay, Rich Hill should by no means be 220 against any team, any major league team he faces. Again, I don't care if he's on the road, at home. He's had a good season, but he does not warrant this line by any means. Now, I get it. The Orioles have been playing poorly, and I think that let me see real quick. They've lost 2 in a row, but even before then they had been, reeling, if you will. And Jorge Lopez is not good by any means. I just want to peek the lineups real quick. The Orioles are sitting guys as well, which kind of complicates things. But the Rays, are they sitting a few? Brandon Lowe leading off is interesting. I'll be honest, looking at these, I do like the Rays lineup compared to opening day versus the Orioles lineup. But the Orioles have been finding some success with their sticks. Let me just see real quick. After this so they had a little 2-game drought here, back-to-back games. Yarborough's been great, though, so I don't necessarily look at the last game as a terrible thing. And the Mets game just got out of hand, so I don't look at that as crazy either. They were hitting pretty well before that. And maybe they find some success here versus Rich Hill. For me, a spot I actually like in this is I have to look at what the number is. I don't have it in front of me. I wouldn't mind the Orioles team total, but however, depending how you can get it, I also don't mind the Orioles run line, and it's for a few different reasons. Again, called a strong lean. Now, the Orioles, I do believe, as crazy as my side, I do believe they're alive to win this game. They might not win it, but to me, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to bet it, so I want to be clear. I give you this information for you guys to make your own bets. I'll just give you my perspective, okay? And hopefully you find it helpful. If you don't, go fist yourself. But either way, the Orioles, for me yesterday, the Rays used their closing pen in that game yesterday. Okay, Yarbrough went 6 innings. They followed him up with Kittredge, Fireison, and Fairbanks, which is their closers out to a game from their strongest pen. Right. Now the Orioles used some of their decent pen as well, but on a lighter perspective. So this comes down to how many innings can Rich Hill eat here, because you're either going to see the arms again for the Rays, okay, after they had pitched already yesterday, which would give them back-to-back days for throwing. Or, Rich Hill only goes 4 or 5 innings, and then you're going to see some new arms from the Rays. Overall, the Orioles did not hit well at all yesterday. 3 hits. They obviously didn't leave many on base because they didn't draw a lot of walks. However, again, I liked what I was seeing from them earlier. Now, Yarbrough is a lefty. I believe he's a lefty, right? All right, take off the top of my head. Yes. So they're going to see another lefty here in Hill, but Hill's different, right? Hill throws a slower fastball. I mean, Yarbrough doesn't blaze by with his fastball either, but Rich Hill throws about an 88-mile-an-hour fastball, where Yarbrough's probably in that 90, 91 area. And Rich Hill, we know him, right? It was all curveballs, right? So fastball, curveball. And I think that the Orioles have enough righties with pop, and they got Austin Hayes back, which is great to potentially cause a little pressure here on Hill. Overall, I think that I look up and down these lineups, and Jorge Lopez is not as bad as his surface looks either. So I like the Orioles run line here as a strong lean. I think that, first of all, it's for a few different reasons. Like I said, Rich Hill should not be favored at 220 against anybody he faces. So to me, that you're paying for Rich Hill. And again, what I tell you is, when you bet sports, you can't be paying for players at their ceiling, right? You need to be paying prices on teams and players at their basement, and selling teams and players at their ceiling. This is your perfect storm, if you will. Rich Hill is way overpriced in this spot. Now, okay, as I said, Rich Hill could throw really well here, but this is not how you bet this sport. Okay, Rich Hill could throw 9 innings. He could throw a perfect game today. It wouldn't matter. This is not how you bet the sport. You don't bet guys like Rich Hill when they're 220 at home. You just don't. You're paying the ceiling for them. Okay, so moving on. I hope that makes sense. Tigers, White Sox. Jose Urena, Dylan Cease. White Sox, $177, total 9. I don't love anything about this game. Again, you put a gun to my head, I'd probably bet the Tigers team total over. I think their team total is probably, 3? And this has more to do with Tigers team has been streaky, haven't they? I mean, they've had some success recently, and you look up and down their lineup and you're like, where is this team going to find success? But here we are. We're about 65, 70 games into the season. They're only 10 games under 500, which here, that's not good by any means, but it's not woeful. And this team's hitting. I mean, 4 runs, 8 runs, 6 runs, 5 runs. And even before that, so they get shut out against the White Sox, but then they go 4 runs, 8 runs. This team is hitting, which matters. Okay, and I know that they had the miracle 2-run shot yesterday late. So with how close this game was. And by the way, from the White Sox perspective, I think Hendricks has now thrown 2 games in a row, so you are not going to see him throw in this game. So they threw out Bummer yesterday to close it and Crochet, but either way, you're not going to get the best pen from the White Sox in this spot. And the Tigers, again, let me just come from their lineup before I kind of go crazy here with the knob stopping the Tigers. But I look at this lineup and, for me, it's fine. I mean, they're sitting Miguel Cabrera, but I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? Miguel Cabrera's hitting 175, so it's not the end of the world. And look, Jonathan Shoup's been, I know this might sound silly, but Jonathan Shoup's been one of the hottest hitters in baseball over the last month. I think he's hitting 370, something like that, and the opposite field power. And you look at the White Sox lineup, and they're sitting quite a few guys. I mean, look at this White Sox lineup. I mean, what is there to love? I mean, they're sitting, what's his name? Let me look at their outfield here. Top of my head, I can't think who they're sitting, but this lineup by no means looks like their opening day lineup. Maybe they're dealing with some injuries. Let me just look real quick because now this is bothering me on who's missing from this lineup. So Moncada's missing, right? He's not in this lineup. Moncada and one of the outfielders is definitely missing. Grandal not in the lineup. Grandal's in the lineup. Am I losing my mind here? What kind of outfit is it? Andrew Vaughn, maybe that they're missing. Andrew Vaughn. Yeah, I guess if you value him, I guess that's what I was thinking of, which I find that odd, to be honest. But either way, yes, White Sox have a degraded lineup today. And you could argue the Tigers do as well to a certain extent. But I like Tigers score runs. They've been hitting, and their team total, I don't have it in front of me, but with a total of 9, them being $1.60, their team total should be 3.5 at dog money, maybe 3 at even money. So yeah, I like that Tigers team total over. And again, if you argue the White Sox are going to win, you'll get 9 at bats from the Tigers. So even though they're home, I don't like to bet a lot of home team totals, but I don't mind betting home team totals when they're a big underdog. So yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it by any means. Okay, so moving on. Looking at Reds team total. So I'll get to that one. Unreal. Took over 4.5. Yeah, thanks for confirming that, Matt. Again, a few different people out for the Sox for sure. I don't want to bet the Tigers. I want to be clear. I would much prefer to bet their team total. I don't like betting the Tigers to win games that I feel like it'll be close late or could be close late. Their bullpen is woeful. Okay. And again, bullpen's underrated quality to handicapping, right? I think a lot of people maybe not so much forget about it, but pay not as much mind as needed for it, right? Okay. So moving on. Can you believe we're still on the 4:00 games and moving the show way too slow? Reds, Rockies, Wade Miley, Herman Marquez. Cincinnati -150. So Marquez, I will say, of course, he is pitching very well, right? But he hasn't really seen a lot. If you look at who he's actually pitched against, it's not really all that much. Now, I thought he threw really well against Oakland in his last start. That, to me, was a good start for Marquez, okay? But if we look prior to that, so you might hear the stat on Marquez that he's given up 3 earned in his last, whatever it is, 26 innings, something like that. However, he played an Arizona lineup in the middle of them during a 13-game losing streak. He played a Mets team who was starting a AAA lineup. He played the Texas Rangers, who were in the middle of their own 7 or 8 game losing streak. And then he plays Oakland. Now, the Oakland start was a tremendous start. I mean, you got to sometimes tip the cap when people or starters throw the way they do in certain ways or certain games. But again, however, now he faces the Reds on the road, so he'll get a National League. We'll continue, obviously, pitching National League, but nothing to worry about because he goes from the Oakland start, right? But I'm just looking for this lineup. Okay, so this Reds lineup is tough. Okay, I'm looking here, and this is a good lineup from them for today. This is near opening day. And it looks like the Rockies got Trevor Story back. However, they are sitting Charlie Blackmon, or maybe it's her, either way. This lineup from the Rockies is whoa bad. So I don't love that by any means. And let me look at the total here. So many 4 o'clock games to sift through. Okay, so total's 9, which I guess kind of makes sense. Look, call it I can't. I mean, looking at my numbers here, I can't. There's nothing here I can like. I mean, again, if you needed something for this game, for me, I would have capped this at 150, which is where it's moving, and I can't lay a half run with the Reds with Miley. Herman Marquez, I think has a bad start coming though. That's I think goes without saying. He's faced some bad lineups, and the Oakland start was a good one, but now we'd have to back it up with another great start. And sure, he's pitching confidently, which helps. But yeah, overall, maybe you can go Reds team total over, but again, they're favored. I don't like betting home team totals when the teams are favored because you get 8 at bats more than likely. So either call this a complete stay away spot for me. But again, what I want to leave you with is I do believe regression is coming for Marquez, and I'm a Marquez guy. I mean, I've backed him for years. He's been a guy that's been underpriced in the marketplace because he's an average pitcher, or at least a market perceived average pitcher who pitches for a bad team, who pitches in a stadium that gives up a ton of runs. But when he's throwing well, and he's been, I just don't think he's, like, if you call it strength of schedule, if you will, I think he's had some soft lineups he's faced outside of the Oakland start in his last one. Okay, moving on. Brewers, Pirates, Corbin Burns, or as some call him, Cy Burns. Going up against Chad Kuhl for Pittsburgh. This, to me, is finally the market making the adjustment to how good Corbin Burns really is. Okay. Corbin Burns' advanced numbers are nearly as good as Jacob deGrom. Okay, if you look at the advanced stuff, his Sierra, xFIP, his FIP, just everything, like up and down, like his line drive rate, his left on base percentage, like these numbers are in deGrom territory. Okay, sure, his ERA is not as good as deGrom, but also deGrom's ERA is strong, but his surface ERA is not that, right? And Corbin Burns' surface ERA is basically this. So he has been tremendous, and he's had like a few head scratching spots, but outside of that, he has been nothing short of tremendous, and the odds makers are finally pricing Corbin Burns as if he is a Cy Young candidate. And for me, this is finally correct. So I don't want any part of the Brewers here at this price. And the Pirates, I will say this, as I've been often, the Pirates have gotten healthier, right? And they've been hitting. They kind of helped us with the Dodgers series. And sure, they kind of blanketed us in certain aspects, but the Dodgers have great starting pitching. Corbin Burns is a great starting pitcher. He doesn't give up many runs. But for me, when you have a line like this and the Brewers pen, which is really good. Now, I just want to see real quick because it was 7-4, but did Hader pitch yesterday at 7-4 to grab the save? So he did. He threw 18 pitches, so I guess he's still alive to go again. They did not throw their other good arm. What's his name? Drew Williams? Got that right? The other good pen guy? Devin Williams. So they didn't throw him yesterday, so he's, of course, going to be live to go today. The good thing with Hader, the good thing with, what's his name? Burns, is that he eats innings. He's good for 6-7 innings in every start. This would be at best would be a live spot for me to target the Pirates team total. And I only say that because when you have a total that's 7.5 and a team is plus 250, their team total is probably 2. I don't have it in front of me, but I would assume their team total is 2, which would mean if they go 3.5 innings of nothing, their team total will basically be 1 for 5 innings. And you'll get the back end of Corbin Burns, and you can accidentally score 1.5 runs. So, that'll be a spot for me potentially. But I do believe that the market has finally priced Burns where he should be, and that's why I want a part of the Brewers. Finally the market's starting to see how good this kid's been this year. Okay, so moving on. What a find by Joey. Yeah, so Yeezy brings up, that corn on the cob thing with the machine hand jerking off the cob. That shit's excellent. If you guys haven't seen that, just check Joey Works Twitter because he retweeted it. That shit was pretty funny. Or if you don't like to laugh, then don't look at it. LOL. Okay, so moving on. Next game up. Mets Padres. There are a lot of 4 o'clock games today. Talk about it, just a silly amount. There's still another 3-4 games. Jesus. All right, so Mets Padres. Marcus Stroman, Joe Musgrove. For those that heard me speak enough about Musgrove and Stroman would know that I am not a fan of either pitcher by any means. I think that Musgrove is the type of pitcher that requires a tremendous amount of swings and misses to be successful. And Marcus Stroman is a pitcher who requires a tremendous amount of ground balls to be successful. When Stroman's not getting ground balls and Musgrove is not getting free swinging misses, this is an ugly outing, or you will find ugly outings from both these pitchers when those things aren't happening. I look at a Padres lineup that up and down looks very good. This is a near opening day lineup from the Padres. The Mets are still dealing with some injuries, which is why their lineup looks maybe a bit degraded, but they are slowly getting healthier. But this would be the type of start where they would have played guys like Conforto and guys like Nemo, or Nemo, however you want to pronounce it. I do think it's Nemo, though. But instead, of course, they need to play guys like McKinney and Guillermo and Kevin Pillar versus a righty. So either way, it's a bit degraded. However, I see a total of 7. And I'll be honest, to me, that's light. I have strong lean for me over 7. And again, maybe it's some bias. My numbers, again, the Mets are not a free swinging team when they're a full healthy lineup. They do have some guys that are filling in that have been a bit of a free swinging team, which means that their strikeouts numbers aren't as accurate because you have guys out. But again, Musgrove needs guys to be free swinging. And I know that these two pitchers both pitched against this series recently. And then when it was in San Diego, to me, that's advantage hitters. And overall, to me, this if we go like the first inning where there's no runs and this total becomes 5.5, to me, I really like that as a live spot to go over. And again, strong lean for me over the 7. And I know you might look at yesterday and the 2 good pitchers that threw and the total was 5.5 and they pitched well. But again, if we're talking bullpens, you saw good pen arms come in for both teams. The Padres bullpen's slowly getting healthier as well, but you got Stamina through 24 pitches. Doubt he comes back in, and Lugo pitched, and Castro pitched, and Diaz pitched. So, you're going to see these guys again from the Mets. I don't know. To me, I don't think so. The Mets are going for these teams have played 7 games. Oh no, I was going to say played 7 games in a row. No, they played a few in San Diego, came back here, and now they're playing them back here after a different series. But either way, long story short, because I'm rambling, I am not a Stroman guy and I am not a Musgrove guy. So when I see these two pitching against each other in a total of 7, yeah, I'm going to have a strong lean in favor of that over. But again, I'd love for an inning, a free inning to go scoreless in the first and then jump in because, again, Mets aren't free swinging. San Diego's got a lot of guys that can put the ball in the air. And Stroman, when he's giving up fly balls, it is a problem. So, yeah, I like it over 7. Okay, so moving on. Don't worry, best bet will come if you stay patient. Blue balls, I get it, but it'll come. Okay, so moving to the next one. Indians, Mariners, Tristan McKenzie, Yusei Kikuchi. For those that watch these know that I am more or less a Kikuchi guy. I'm a closeted Mariners fan. I've been for a long time, ever since the A-Rod, Jay Buhner, Edgar Martinez days, Randy Johnson. That was when I first started watching baseball. They've kind of stuck with me. Now I want to be clear that I am a sports bettor, so I can't necessarily be a bias bettor in the Mariners fashion. That's why I rarely ever actually bet Mariners games, because I never want to be perceived as like, oh, I'm backing my team or fading my team. But Tristan McKenzie is not as bad as his ERA says he is. And the Mariners, Mariners are, they've been woeful, especially against lefties, but they're not facing a lefty here, of course. But here's my issue. Lefties against Cleveland is an issue. Okay, so Kikuchi is in a spot to throw a good start here. If he can have look, the thing with Kikuchi is it's all about location, right? He throws a bunch of different pitches, and he doesn't throw a hard fastball by any means. So he needs to have proper location when in his starts. But look at this Indians line. This is the problem. So some of the Indians' top righties are out. So when they face a lefty, this is what their lineup looks like. You don't have. I'm trying to think who's the catcher. So I guess they recently signed Rin Rivera because he wasn't on their roster to start the year. I don't think he was anyway. But I'm trying to think. What's the guy's name? It's 2 outfielders. So Luplo's one of them, and the other one who's been out for a long time. I can't think of his name. Just a ton of pop from the right side, though. You guys have too many guys out. You got Harold Ramirez, who's been filling in, I guess, nicely, but again, he's not a righty with pop. So either way, when I look at this game, I was going in different directions for me. I look at a guy in Kikuchi who tends to struggle in starts he shouldn't. This Indians lineup doesn't have anybody that really should put pressure on him. But again, the Mariners aren't playing that well or haven't been playing that well. Actually, I mean, they've been hitting, but they haven't been winning a lot of games, which obviously says to the record. Indians are staying above water somehow, some way, and it's been more with pitching. But today they don't have one of their better pitchers going. So yeah, again, arrows going a bunch of different ways. I will stay away from this one. But overall, Kikuchi should throw well here. Should. Red Sox, Blue Jays, Nick Pivetta, Steven Matz. Sox minus 121, over under 9.5. 9.5, decent sized total for this park. So take of that what you will. For me, you throw a lefty at this Boston lineup. It usually doesn't result in success, especially a lefty that's volatile. So Steven Matz, the good part with him is he's on both sides of the spectrum in a very Jekyll Hyde manner. He was much like this when he was on the Mets as well. When he throws well, I mean, you can get 7 innings, 1 earned almost consistently. When he's not throwing well, he rarely ever finishes the 3rd inning. I just want to look at what this Red Sox lineup looks like just to confirm. But so Xander Bogaerts is not in the lineup again, or not in the lineup in general. But they do get Kiki back at the leadoff spot. And this is a dangerous lineup for the Jays as well, which always is basically. But I'm not a Pivetta guy. I think he walks too many. He did the same thing in the National League when he was with the Phillies. He's still walking too many guys. Getting himself into too many jams. Look, his surface is good or good enough at 3.78. His record at 6-1 is nothing more than birching on his windshield. And even same thing with Matz. Steven Matz's record at 6-3 is because he plays for a team winning games. It's the same thing with Nick Pivetta because Pivetta gives up runs. It's not super warm today in Boston, just like it's not super warm today here in New York, New Jersey. But so the ball's not going to have crazy carry, and no Bogaerts matters a bit. But call it a lean. So I'm seeing 9.5. Is that correct? So 9.5. Call that a lean over the number. Again, this is more to do with me not being a Pivetta guy and me not being a Matz guy. And I can promise you this: I have pitchers that I am guys for. You've heard me say certain guys I really like. These are not pitchers I enjoy backing by any means when they start. Boston's won a few in a row here, looking to keep it going. So I don't mind if you want to bet Boston, but I don't like laying vig with Pivetta, especially against a team like the Jays that can put a lot of pressure on a pitcher, especially with the home run ball. Pivetta's biggest pitchers, you reminds me a lot of Vince Velasquez. It was ironic that the two of them pitched on the same team. Both of them walk a ton of guys, and both of them have pitchers with the home run ball. Could that come to a head today in Boston against Toronto? It could. I lean this over at 9.5. Okay, so easy. I will likely all I'll do for UFC tonight would be bet what my guy Jay has on our sheets for Run Pure. And that's runpurebets.com. But I will. I don't know if my thing is like I enjoy UFC, but I enjoyed it a lot more when there wasn't other sports going on. Now that there's baseball and everything's back in full effect, and you got Euro Cup for soccer. I'm not a big soccer guy, but it's hard not to watch some of these matches. But also, guys, you like my new mug? It's like a stress ball. See? I basically drink this whenever I'm having a bad day. Makes me feel better about myself. Okay, so next game. I still can't believe we're on 4 o'clock games. Oh no, we're done. We are done. Thank God. Done with 4 o'clock games. Okay, best bet. Twins, Astros. Love the Twins in this spot. Now, the Twins for me have not been a fruitful team or a profitable team for me this season. They're much like the Red Sox. Okay, I've actually stopped betting Red Sox games primarily because they're a team I cannot get right. Now, I cannot get them right because they're a team playing above their standard. Now, how long will that last? At some point, it's going to come to a head. The Red Sox are not a team that should be winning 57% of their games. Okay. The Twins are not a team that should be losing 43% of their games or even more. So the records here are interesting. Now, the lineup, the problem with the Twins, of course, is that they are dealing with injuries. Okay. We know this right up and down the lineup. They've had issues. But I always say Jose Barrios and Luis Castillo are pitchers I like to compare to one another, because their advanced stuff is always very similar. There are two pitchers who tend to throw very well at home. There are two pitchers who tend to throw very well in warm weather. It is 82 degrees in Minnesota today. Jose Barrios, of course, is home in Minnesota. And Luis Garcia has been good, right? Really good. He will get a little tested, though, by this Twins lineup. And what I like from the Twins, though, what I've seen recently is they are putting the ball in the stands. Now, we know this Twins team, much like some other teams in Major League Baseball, are very home run heavy, okay? They're going to have a lot of low average guys and a lot of guys that can hit home runs, okay? Miguel Sano is no perfect example of what this team is. A guy that hits 197 and has about 13 or 14 home runs, okay? With all this said, Okay. Jose Barrios is tremendous versus right-handed bats. Okay. What is the Astros? The Astros are practically all right-handed bats. Okay. Yes, they have Alvarez, and they have trying to think who else comes from the left side. Basically, Brantley, but Brantley's still hurt, I think, isn't he? Is Brantley back? He might be. Either way, I mean, even if Brantley's back, he's not a big power threat. And is he back? So Brantley is back. Okay, so you're looking at Brantley and Alvarez from the left side. To me, the one was. I mean, yeah, you could argue Kyle Tucker, but I don't. To me, that's not a big deal. And Gurriel is much better from the right side than he is the left, or at least for his career he's been. So for me, the big pop in this lineup, of course, comes from the right side, and Barrios is excellent versus right-handed bats. Luis Garcia has been good. I do believe he gets tested a bit, especially if the Twins can find a way to put a few balls in the seats. I think that in normal circumstances, okay, if the Twins weren't in this weird skid this year where they can't find a way to win games, some of that's their bullpen. Some of this has been their lack of hitting. But they haven't exactly had issues with lack of hitting. Yesterday was a very winnable game for them. They were up early, and they've been hitting. Again, I look at a team that's 4 runs, 7 runs, 6 runs, 4 runs, and a lot of it's been via the home run ball. So for me, this team has no reason to feel unconfident. Okay, they now have their best starting pitcher going today in Barrios. So this is a good spot for them to bounce back after their loss yesterday. The Astros used their best pen arms in the game yesterday to close it out. So I think we get we're not going to have a pen advantage. First of all, the Astros don't have a good pen to begin with. So the Astros used to have a good bullpen. This year, they do not have a good bullpen. They gave away some of their arms. Some of the guys are hurt. However, the Twins don't have a great bullpen either by any means. I mean, Robles, the guy they continue to think that they can close games out with, is a consistent sweat late in games. However, maybe you can go first 5, Barrios, if you want. I do believe, though, that over the course of the game, to me, this makes more sense to go Twins at money line minus 104. And again, I'm not a Vegas Bruce. If you think Michael Brantley's a true power threat, you don't watch enough Michael Brantley. So I don't know what to tell you there. Now, overall, 104 is the best price I've found. So that is at FanDuel in New Jersey. So that is Twins minus 104 versus the Astros. That is at FanDuel in New Jersey. Best bet. Yeah, I want to be clear. Bruce. Brantley is a great player. He is just not a player that has nearly as much power as he used to when he was in Cleveland. Again, you don't believe me? Just look at his slugging numbers. I mean, maybe doubles, but he doesn't put ball in seats like he used to. Okay, so moving to the next game, the game 2, Nationals Giants. I don't even think we have a lineup for this game. I don't even see starting pitching for this game. Jeffrey Rodriguez, Connor Menez. To me, not even worth me talking about that game. I'm not going to be able to give you any helpful perspective. That's why I'm not going to talk about it. Okay. Next game. Cubs, Cardinals, Kyle Hendricks, John Gant. John Gant finally woke up one morning and did not have the same bird shit that's been on his windshield all season long. This is a guy that continues to get himself into trouble in every start he makes. And the big reason he gets himself into trouble is because he has a severe control issue. Okay, I'm not talking mentally control. I'm talking he walks a ton of guys. And this is an issue. Okay, he gives up a ton of hits. His whip, I don't have it in front of me, but his whip has to be like 1.5, like at least. It's over. Now I have it. It's over 1.5. So 1.6. I mean, imagine a guy with a whip at 1.6 and an ERA of 2.6. And his ERA is 2.6 because he gave up 7 earned in his last start. His ERA before that was under 2. Imagine having a whip of 1.6 and an ERA under 2. Just egregious to say the least. But again, a lot of this has to do with the dude gets himself into jams and then finds ways to wiggle out of it. Now, did the rubber finally meet the road with Gant? And will this be the Gant we can expect to find moving forward? It's possible. However, he is a tilting guy to bet against because you watch a guy that consistently gets himself into jams and then consistently manages to wiggle himself out. Now, last week it wasn't very favorable for him in that respect. And however, though, at this price, I can't jump in on the Cubs. I'm late to the party, 185. Kyle Hendricks, though, for those that know me, I think Kyle Hendricks is a bit overrated versus what the market thinks about him. However, he is a good pitcher at home, loves pitching in Wrigley, and I think that he should be able to have a good start here against the Cards. Gant, to me, this game is all about if Gant's going to wiggle himself out of the jams, he's going to find himself in. It hasn't even gotten to the point where it's like, oh, well, maybe Gant will throw like 7 shutout and only give up 1 hit. Like, that's not his MO. John Gant is going to walk 3 or 4 guys. John Gant is going to give up 5 or 6 hits. It's going to be whether or not he can keep the ball in the ballpark when he has guys on base, and if he can get the double play ball when he needs it, get the strikeout when he needs it. That's another thing. Like, I'm not even a big K guy. So like, it's all just so egregious. Like, for a guy like this that doesn't strike out near as many guys as he should be for his ability to get himself out of jams, it's just crazy to me how lucky he's been starting this season. But look, with that said, I don't like to bet against luck, and I'm going to stay away here at 185. But Hendricks should throw well here overall. Last but not least, at least I think it's last but not least, the Dodgers, Rangers, Trevor Bauer, Colby Allard. Look, Dodgers deserve to be 290 here. I know you heard me say before Rich Hill to 220. They deserve to be 290. Bauer's been great. The Rangers are not hitting. Now, the only thing I'd say is that against a righty, the Rangers can throw a bunch of lefties that have pop. And the thing with Bauer is he has a little Max Scherzer in him in the sense that he does give up home runs. He can, of course, get you out of a bases-loaded, no-out jam like any other in baseball with his ability to get Ks and his ability to feed off momentum and the crowd. And Colby Allard, his surface is 3.41. He hasn't been terrible. Dodgers are hitting, though. They were smacking the ball around yesterday a ton. They had a 10-run game against the Pirates recently as well. So I usually like to find spots where I can fade the Dodgers. However, this is not a spot I want to. Not to say that I'm going to back them. I don't want to back them at this price. It's a fair price for me. At 300, but I don't overall. I don't have any spot I like in this game. It's for the total. 7.5 to me is a fair number. Bauer throws well. Bauer's drawn a team in Texas that's having issues scoring runs, and you throw a lefty at the Dodgers who have a bunch of righties back, it makes you even more fearful. But again, you're going to probably have to get a lot of help from the Dodgers to get this over. So overall, I will stay away from this game. Okay, so overall, I hope this video was informative for you. As I noted, my best bet is the Twinkies. -104 FanDuel, New Jersey. That's my best bet of the day. I gave you a few leans as well for these 4 o'clocks if you want to degen out and bet games that I don't have as favorable. And again, even if they win, they lose, I'm not going to talk about it. It doesn't matter. But overall, if they do well for you, great. Otherwise, we will be back tomorrow. I'll be back with Holden. Joey Work can't make the show tomorrow, but I will be back with Holden. And I will try to get my father to come on with us. But we will see how that goes. Also, next week for Father's Day, I'm not going to have a Saturday show or a Sunday show. I'm actually going to be down in Virginia hanging out with the Pops. So I will not have any videos for you then. But either way, we'll be back tomorrow. And look, I wish you guys all the best of luck with your bets. You obviously got a ton of action. You got Euro Cup. You got Grand Slam. You got the French Open Finals tomorrow. Got a NASCAR race that Jay's going to hook you up with for more picks. And the live show tomorrow. Jay's going to do a live show tonight for members. Again, head over to runpurebets.com, see what we're all about. Got more tennis starting on the grass, so I'm excited to get that started next week. Hopefully I can make a little nice turnaround over the last week or so for me in tennis. But overall, all things considered, I wish you all the best of luck with all your bets. Gamble responsibly, stay safe, and as always, folks, Run Pure. Talk to you later.